you are practicing tennis completely wrong. That's what I want to talk about in today's video. And I don't care if you are a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced player. I'm going to prove to you why you are practicing tennis the wrong way. And this is the big reason why you don't play your matches the way you practice, right? Have you ever said that to yourself? Like, why can't I play the way I practice? I kind of like the way I practice. I kind of do pretty good in practice. And in my matches, I don't do very well. My name is Pete. I'm an online tennis instructor. We're out here on vacation in Cancun. I'm going to show you the resort today, just so you have some really cool sights as you're learning this. So make sure you watch this video to the end. We're going to see some pretty awesome stuff. But we're going to get right into this. Why are you practicing the wrong way? How can you fix it? And what will be the difference when you start doing this? Okay, so here's the big mistake everybody makes in practice. And we're all guilty of it. And I'm not saying there's no room for it. I'm not saying you should completely get rid of these ideas. But when you do these ideas too much, this is when you start to create that false sense of security that you're playing great tennis when you're really not playing great tennis. Because practicing great tennis and playing great tennis are two completely different things, the way we've built our practice systems. So the big mistake we make is we all go out there and we try and create a great rhythm for ourselves by hitting a lot of balls, okay? And we give ourselves credit. We're like, we're hitting a lot of balls, we're working really hard, we got a big sweat. And then when we do that, we often get rewarded by getting into a great rhythm, feeling the ball well, and the more balls we hit, the better we play. And so it creates this feeling that we're going to start playing great tennis when we go play our matches because we're working so hard, we're hitting so many balls, and we're feeling the ball great. And then you go out there in a match, and all of a sudden, within a couple of games, you don't feel the ball anymore, and you start to lose your confidence, and your game kind of goes downhill. But no one really thinks about, well, why would this happen? Because when you go to practice, probably 80% of that hour, you're practicing, you're hitting balls. And then if you go to play a match, 80% of the time, guess what you're not doing? Hitting tennis balls. Think about that. Well, let's even just start with practicing a basket of serves. This is something that everybody can do and should be doing by themselves. And let's think about how we practice a basket of serves. Everybody gets the basket right next to them and just starts hitting serves. And, you know, who wouldn't do that? I've done that a ton of times. And is it going to help your serve? Absolutely. It will help you serve better and get in a rhythm and build your confidence. But is that the way serving at all is going to feel when you go to play a tennis match? No, what's going to happen is you're going to walk up to the line, you're going to play a point. The point most likely is going to be over in a couple of seconds. And then you're going to have to walk back to the fence, most likely, pick up the ball, and then get ready to serve on the opposite side. And so this is nothing like serving a basket of balls. So what I've been doing with my students, and it's amazing too, I've had my students start to practice a basket of serves. And whether they are a 3-0 student or a 4-0 or 4-5 student, most people after a couple of minutes start to serve pretty well with a basket of serves. Bam, 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 they're just hitting the serves. And now I've done this thing to where I have 2 people going up and serving, 2 people behind them. And so now there's people watching them, like maybe you've got a match and your teammates are watching you. And the person who makes the serve gets to stay in, and they have to hit a certain target area, and the person who misses the serve has to go out. So there's all this tension and awkward silence and time, and what ends up happening? What do you think ends up happening? People start missing a ton of serves. I mean, sometimes it gets so uncomfortable that I've even seen some nice 4-0 players go from making a lot of serves, warming up the basket, to not making a serve with a couple of minutes. And you might be thinking, well, geez, you got to stop that right away because, you know, that's terrible. No one's playing good. You got to actually start embracing that and thinking, let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the secret. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. The more you can do that, you're going to get comfortable in your matches. So here is how I suggest you practice your serve. Instead of having the basket right by your side, put the basket back by the fence. Go back to the basket and grab just 2 balls. You can't grab a bunch of balls and keep firing off serves. 2 balls, you serve 2, you go back, you go the other side. So if you're serving on the deuce, then go the ad, and then serve 2 more. And you got to keep doing that, okay? And then start to set goals, like put out targets and say, I've got to hit 2 in a row to get a point. Or maybe in the beginning you just go, I got to make 1 out of 2. But the more you do that, now you're applying pressure. Even better than that is if you don't make your goal, tell yourself you're going to have to run a sprint or do a certain amount of push-ups. This again is creating that tension within the game that you need to go out there and play like you practice. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever practiced a basket of serves like that? Just try that. All right, now let's get into how to start, playing the full match, serving and returning, and practicing that the right way. Okay, now let's talk about how to practice ground strokes. Give yourself 10 minutes to do what feels comfortable. Maybe starting the short court, go back to the baseline, hit some balls, get your body warmed up, okay? Because that is important to get your body warmed up and to achieve some sort of flow, some sort of rhythm. But the mistake many of us make is we just do that the entire practice and we feel amazing, but that's not how you're gonna play a match at all. So after you go through that, what I want you to start doing is you've got to do this. Try and do this. You got to find a really dedicated partner, maybe a coach that will actually be willing to do this with you. But start rallying up the middle. Take 1 ball, you hit, and then whenever there's a miss, you got to stop. Don't play any misses. And then after that, you've got to go back to the fence and you've got to walk around for 15 seconds minimum. Just don't feed another ball in. That's another thing we do. We play, we miss, we feed another ball in. No, practice. After you miss a shot, you've got to walk near the back fence and develop some rituals, and you've got to time yourself at least 15 seconds before you're allowed to go up there and start another rally. And so every time you and your partner miss, you've got to do that. You've got to get off the baseline, you've got to develop a ritual that you start to feel comfortable with, and then rally. I know this is going to drive you insane, but this is going to have you start playing, again, more like you practice. You can also do the same thing with cross courts on both sides, forehands and backhands. So once you get a nice little flow going up the middle, then do the same thing, your traditional cross court rally drill where you're just playing cross court, but then once you miss, again, you got to get off the line. Now, I want you to do those same exact drills from the baseline and play points. And again, after each point, that's another thing. You can get into a great rhythm doing this, playing ground stroke points to where you play to 11 up the middle and then the court opens up and maybe you got to make 3 balls in a row. But then we usually just hit the next ball in and play the next point. Again, 15 seconds. Get comfortable taking 15 seconds in between each rally and then notice how different that feels. And guess what? The quality is actually probably going to go down, especially in the beginning. But that's fine because now we're starting to match what we're performing in our matches. And the more you do this, that level is going to increase because that time that creates, it breaks the rhythm, it creates the tension, that's going to start to be the norm for you. Okay, now the final thing I want you to do is I want you to start serving and returning and playing points. And first you can just do this without keeping score, just so you get into a rhythm of starting your rallies. Even do this with the cross court drill, serve it in, return it cross court, rally cross court, especially for all you doubles players out there. And again, in between each point, you've got to take 15 seconds. If you do this, as hard as it may be, it sounds easy until you get on the court. Then you're gonna be like, forget this, I just want to hit balls, get a great sweat. But if you start doing this, you're gonna start practicing in a much better way and much more to how it's gonna feel out there in a match. So when you go out there and you play a match, those really awkward feelings you have, those insecurities you have, a lot of that is created with the time you have in between points to think about stuff. and you're just not used to doing that. You're just used to going out there and getting a great sweat and getting into a great rhythm. But remember, tennis is not a rhythm sport. As much as we want it to be, it actually constantly is breaking our rhythm. So the more you practice breaking your rhythm and getting comfortable with that and still being able to achieve some sort of flow and rhythm, that's how you start to become a really great tennis player. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked this video, if you liked all these beautiful sights, then definitely give this video a like. And if you want to see more awesome tennis instruction videos, then consider subscribing. This is Pete from Crunch Time Coaching signing off. Watch the next videos we put up right here. We'll see you guys on the next video.